let's start off. Let's start off here. We have Elaine has a new car. Okay, and we have the verb in the sentence, which is have. Here's another one where I know your sister, but we can't say I'm knowing your sister. I'm thirsty. I want something to drink, but we can't say I am wanting something to drink. I prefer iced tea, but we can't say I'm preferring iced tea. So the pattern that you should know is is that with non-action verbs, what they do is they express an existing situation. They're not showing any action happening. No one is actually doing anything. Um, uh, so we call them non-action verbs. And the reason that this is important is that in English, non-action verbs are not allowed to be used in the progressive tense. Now, this may be different than a lot of your languages, and one thing that I would encourage you to do is as we go through this PowerPoint, take a look at these sentences and ask yourself, can I say this in my language or can I not say this in my language? So for example, I know your sister. Translate that into your language. Now think about saying, I am knowing your sister. Can you say that in your language? If you can, you may be making mistakes when you're writing English. I remember that a couple of the languages that we talked about, there wasn't any difference between the progressive and the simple present tense. So it's not as much of an issue, but something to think about. All right, so for non-action verbs, this is something that is not in the book. And if you're following along in the book, we're on page 17. But one thing that I want you to learn and I want you to remember is this chart here. Because we can say that the majority of non-action verbs fall into one of these 6 categories. So the first category is with the 5 senses. So hear, see, sound, feel, and taste. Okay. So for example, I hear you. There's not really any action there. The action verb is actually listen. I see you. There's not any action there. We can say I'm looking at you, but not with see. We won't say I am seeing you. And the same is true with these other ones, sound, feel, and taste. The second group is opinion. Okay, so verbs that express opinion, like believe, think, understand, know, mean, agree, or disagree, are not used in the continuous tense. And again, that's the important thing here. With these non-action verbs, they cannot be used in the continuous tense. The third category is existence. So be or exist are not used in the continuous tense. Appearance is the fourth category, so seem or look like. The fifth category is possession. And when we say possession, what we're talking about is ownership. So words like own, have, possess, belong are not used in the continuous tense. We will find out that have, there's 2 meanings for have, so we'll talk about that in a moment. And then the last category is desire, need, want, prefer, like, love, hate. Okay, in these categories, you can't use the continuous tense in general. Okay, certainly in formal writing. All right, so then let's move on from here to take a look at these in more detail. So I say here, I think that learning English is important. When think is a word, and there in the book and on the chart in the bottom of page 17, the words think and have 2 meanings. So when think means believe, and if you remember, belief or opinion was one of our categories of non-action verbs. When think means believe, it's not progressive. It's a non-action verb, and we can't use it in the continuous tense. So it would be incorrect to say, I am thinking that learning English is important. Okay? We need to say, I think that learning English is important. Okay, but think also has another meaning when it's talking about the thoughts in a person's mind, when it's the different ideas that are going through your mind rather than what you believe or what your opinion is. So in that case, you can use it in the continuous tense. So we can say, I'm thinking about studying right now. Because what we're talking about is the action of those thoughts going through our mind. Okay, and then the other one that has two meanings is has. So Jesse has a motorbike. Now in this case, has means ownership. And if you remember, one of our groups was possession or owning something. And when a verb is describing possession or ownership, we do not use it in the continuous tense because it is a non-action verb. However, there are some expressions in English where have does not mean ownership. So for example, my aunt is having an operation. This does not mean that my aunt owns an operation. It's saying that it's something that she is going to do. Okay? So similarly, my aunt is having a baby, right? It's not so much that she owns the baby, I guess in a way. Um, and I guess in a way you do own your kid, but it's talking about a process. So it doesn't mean own. So when has doesn't mean own, it can be progressive. There's a number of examples of that in the table on page 17. So such like have a good time, have a bad time, have trouble. Take some time and take a look at those and review those. All right, so let's take a second and practice these ones. So we want to say, are they progressive or non-progressive? So in this one, we say, remember. Does he always remember your birthday? Is this progressive or non-action? Action or non-action? Okay, and in this case, it's non-action. Okay. Um, in this one, are you have trouble or are you having trouble? Does have mean ownership or does it mean something else? In this case, it means something else. It's not about owning the trouble. It's about the experience of having trouble. In this case, we look at the woman and we want to think, is this question asking about her opinion, or is it about what the thoughts are that are going through her mind? In this case, it's the thoughts that are going through her mind. What is she thinking about? It's an action verb. Okay, and this goes on to the next chapter, the next section, 1-7. But those are about short answers, and we're not going to cover that. So what I would recommend, if you haven't already done this, is go through and do exercise 28 on page 17, 29, and 30. That will give you the opportunity to practice with these action and these non-action verbs. And hopefully you also got some practice from the exercises we did yesterday. We're going to have a quiz just over this table, the action and non-action verbs. The practice quiz is up. So make sure that you take the time to take a look at that and that you're well prepared. If you have any questions, be sure to post them on Facebook, or if you're not on Facebook, send me an email. All right, take care. We'll see you tomorrow night. Bye.